When working inside a company, you're given access to certain things that may not be available to customers. With this access comes a certain amount of responsibility. Organizations restrict this responsibility as to help not give too much power to certain employees. Well, what happens when an employee with malicious intentions gets too much power? This is exactly what happened to Ghost Exodus. Ghost Exodus, whose real name is Jesse William McGraw, had a rough start to life with his parents divorcing and being adopted at the age of just 10 years old. Jesse lost contact with his biological family, and for many years he longed for them. Eventually, after hiring a private investigator, he was able to find his mum. His mum was a pastor at a church, and when he found her, he became very involved. This helped him become a pianist at the church where his mum worked. But with the church came strictness, which he described as cult-like. Jesse felt helpless and he wanted freedom. During his time at the church, he found solace in computers, and he found that he could have a power in a way that he had never experienced before. Inspired by hacking groups such as Anonymous, who were all over the news at the time, he started researching more and more about hacking. He saw it as a way to right the wrongs that others couldn't, viewing himself as a vigilante. It isn't uncommon for hackers or hacktivists to view themselves as vigilantes. And at the time, cyberbullying was becoming a massive thing, and schools really didn't know how to deal with it. And according to a study in 2005, which looked at 177 seventh graders, of the ones that had experienced bullying, about half of them had also experienced cyberbullying. The number of data compromises also increased between this time, and between 2005 and 2008, the number of data compromises quadrupled. And these two things combined were what inspired Jesse to learn about hacking in the first place. He wanted to help victims who had experienced similar things to what he had. And in high school, he learned a lot about how to manipulate a computer after meeting a mentor of sorts. This led to him soon joining a hacking group called the Insane Masterminds Crew. He believed that having others around him was the best way to learn, as others that were passionate helped increase his drive for learning. Unfortunately, once again he felt trapped after his views didn't align with other members of the hacking organization. And this led to him starting his own hacking group called ETA, or Electronic Tribulation Army. ETA's morals stood with those that felt powerless and mistreated. And it used hacktivism to both spread ETA's message and Jesse's message. This led to ETA becoming popular, which quickly built an ego inside of Jesse's head. During the night, Jesse worked as a security guard at the Northern Central Medical Plaza, and since he didn't have much to do with his time, he spent a lot of it communicating with other members of ETA. However, there was one issue. His internet speed wasn't quick enough, a hacker's nightmare, and he couldn't properly communicate with his team. To get around this, he downloaded something called LogMeIn, which allowed him to get access remotely to another computer. The issue is, he had now committed the crime. By installing it on a HVAC machine which was used for controlling the heating and the cooling of the medicine, it meant that in the eyes of the law, he had transmitted malicious code. He furthermore incriminated himself by installing botnets on nurses' computers. Botnets is a collection of devices with malicious software on them that allows them to act as a group. He also installed Offcrack, which allowed him to bypass certain security measures on the computer. After figuring out that he could do this, he wanted to inspire other members of ETA to do the same, so that he could build his botnet up. Doing so allowed them to perform DDoS attacks on a massive scale. And to encourage the other members, he decided to post this on YouTube. He later admitted to finding the video cringy, but despite this, it worked well. It worked really well, perhaps too well. And it quickly drew the attention of security expert Wesley McGraw after one of the less experienced members of ETA started bragging to him. This piqued Wesley's interest, and he collected lots of information on Jesse, including his real name and his place of work, and sent this over to the FBI. Shortly after, Jesse was arrested at his place of work while training a new member of staff for his replacement. The arrest came right before he was about to accept an entry-level job in cybersecurity, so who knows how this would have turned out differently for him if he hadn't have committed these crimes. Despite ETA's strong stance against bullying, this was quickly changed after Jesse was arrested, as several members of ETA created an embarrassing website and sent it around Wesley's colleagues. although it is alleged that he contacted his sister shortly after he was arrested to contact other members of ETA. It is believed this led to the police raids of Devnor, Fixer, and Zon, and also Jesse's sister, who were all involved with ETA in one way or another, although I couldn't find any information about what happened to them after the police raids. It's clear after receiving power, Jesse quickly spiraled and lost control. But how has that changed? Jesse spent many years in and out of jail after he was arrested and rearrested. On one occasion, he attempted to escape to Nigeria by jumping on a cargo ship, despite his probation, which restricted him from leaving the state. Obviously, the FBI caught onto this quickly, and he was given another 2 years, which was the length of the rest of his probation. And finally, he was free at last in 2020 after spending 9 years and 8 months in prison. Which, when he got out, he started to work again and became a fry cook, and has more recently started writing for Honor as their chief cybersecurity writer. And it seems that he's really focused on improving his life. Although when he left, his goal was to become a digital forensics examiner. However, I couldn't find any evidence to suggest that had become the case. Furthermore, he has created a YouTube channel where his focus is not promoting criminal activities anymore, but instead he likes talking about his time in prison, his experience hacking, and also practicing skills such as piano or violin. And he's also currently in the process of writing a book about being a prisoner and a black hat hacker. It doesn't seem like he's been able to get rid of his past life completely, because he still goes by the name of Ghost Exodus on several social medias. And he's also posted videos that he used to promote ETA. And he also has a website where this time he promotes activism in a more constructive way rather than through hacktivism. And if you're interested in cybersecurity, I have an email newsletter called cybersecweekly.com where you can sign up and receive weekly emails about what's the latest in cybersecurity. And if you enjoy this video, I really hope that you subscribe.